We got a long way to go and a really exciting offseason, but who are going to be the breakout candidates for the Arizona Cardinals in 2025, Johnny?
Plus, All-City NFL analyst Fran Duffy makes his PHNX Cardinals debut. Who does he like ahead of the Senior Bowl? And is it Scadaboo or bust for the Cardinals? Let's talk about that. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. This is the #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast in the world. I'm Johnny Venerable. I did get a haircut. Let's move on. Bo Brack in Studio K. Shane D behind the mic. Oh, what a phenomenal day we got. Presenting sponsor, of course, our friends at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. What's up, Bo?
Hey, what's going on? You can't do that. You can't do that. Johnny coming on here looking like a snack, and he's just like, move on. We're going to move on. Nope, not happening today. What's going on? Jack, Owen, K2, AZ Moses, Ollie, Reezy Baby, Claremore Jones, Shaft, SATX, Bird Gang, the squad. Squad's here. Biscuits in the Bear. Love to see everybody. K2 asking great clips. Were they the lucky ones that got to take on your main?
No great clips, no hair stadium. Just a very intimate session to try to get this, getting it going.
Turn the lights down low? Like, what do we light a candle?
We had to level up, just like the Arizona Cardinals need to, with some breakout players. We broke out the Clippers today. We're breaking out the Cardinals for 2025.
Snip, baby.
Man.
Reezy Baby saying PHNX best hair in the podcast game. I don't think he's off by saying that.
No, PHNX Cardinals, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane's got an elite flow. Mm-hmm. Damon Dawg's always got the high and tight fade going. I mean, there's not a bad head of hair in this company. So, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
There is. There's a couple.
Okay.
I'm trying to think off.
I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple.
Who are you referencing?
We can talk offline.
Yeah, okay, I do think leaving that mysterious is probably good. Yeah, but look, I mean, Johnny's a breakout candidate as far as he has broken out here in 2025 with elite hair. Who's going to break out for the for the Cardinals in the next season? We've got our candidates. So does Pro Football Focus. Too cool. Take the shades off now. I can't compete with that if you got your shady rays on. But Pro Football Focus has already put in their nominee for the Cardinals breakout of next season. So it sprung us to action to come up with our own. But PFF saying BJ Ojulari, who was lost for the season with a knee injury, Johnny. They're saying this is according to the analysts over there. The Cardinals finished 25th in team pressure rate and tied for 30th in team pass rush grade. Not good, but came with Ojulari missing all the 2024 season with a torn ACL. During his rookie season, Ojulari ranked 4th among qualified rookies at 13.4 pass rush win rate, generating 20 pressures on only 161 pass rush snaps. Dennis Gardeck, Baron Browning, LJ Collar, and more hitting the market. Arizona will likely turn to Ojulari to provide internal pass rushing help.
PFF writes like they didn't read the book, like they didn't do the homework assignment. Congratulations, PFF. I like PFF. They do good work. That's not one of them. You're telling me the guy, it's just like pencil in player that plays pass rusher that's been hurt. He's breaking out. No, the Cardinals, fair or not, are not going to count on a guy who's been injured twice, that tore up his knee last year. He'll be on the roster. He'll get an opportunity. He'll compete, hopefully, at camp. But, like, if Monti Ossenfort comes out at the, pre-draft combine presser and says, Ojulari is our guy at pass rusher, like, people are going to be pissed. People aren't going to be happy about it. They have to get serious. So they had another article that came out today, though. Speaking of doing the homework, they must have watched our show. Yeah. And they basically said they listed a bunch of free agent fits and predictions. And they had Hassan Reddick coming to the Cardinals, of course, and our guy Melton, Big Melton, the defensive tackle from Philadelphia. So
that's right.
I think, B.J. Ojulari is an interesting case study because you need that explosiveness, that burst off the edge, but he's had the entire year. So I think he'll be productive. I think he'll give them some juice, but like the guy who's going to fill in for Dennis Gardeck, Victor Dumicaci, and Jesse Luketa is not on the roster yet. And to say anything otherwise is just basically like, yeah, we don't watch enough Cardinals. We're not tapped in.
Well, and it's also kind of overlooking some bigger names that have been bigger investments from the Arizona Cardinals that need to break out over B.J. Ojulari. Like if we look back at next season and B.J. Ojulari reaches double-digit sacks, that's all well and good. But if I'm not talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. consistently throughout the season and how great he is in year 2, something's gone awry. Like that's a big time problem. Same thing goes for Darius Robinson. I think Darius Robinson as a first round pick also has a little bit of pressure to outperform B.J. Ojulari, even though we can be excited for both players to potentially break out. But that, just to kind of throw darts and look at, positional needs and say, well, he's on the roster, this is a need, and then let's just marry them as the breakout, I think fairly lazy. But look, I agree with Brian. We would absolutely love to see a healthy B.J. Ojulari go up there and produce for the Arizona Cardinals. Hell, Michael Wilson told us a week ago when he sat in our very studio next to Johnny and myself saying he thinks that, B.J. Ojulari was poised for 10 sacks this season and was robbed of that because of the knee injury.
Listen, they all can't be winners, right? Like you draft 22 guys in 2 years. I don't care if it's a first rounder through a seventh, like you're going to miss on some guys, maybe not necessarily for talent, but injuries happen. It's a part of the game. It's unfortunate. The frustrating part with the prior regime is it felt like they couldn't hit water falling out of a boat when they were drafting players toward the end. Now it's like Ossenfort, he's got a nice track record, but B.J. Ojulari right now is a miss for this franchise. But to your point, Bo, you can't have Marvin be a miss. You can't have Darius be a miss. Like these guys, it's more crucial now. And this draft class from 2024, this has to be the backbone, I think, of your upcoming success. Like, because I'm ready to look at, we did this the other day. 2023 has proven commodities. Like Paris Johnson Jr. is a Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl away from going to the Pro Bowl in his second year. That's a hit, right? Garrett Williams is one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, 6th overall by PFF. See, PFF, we're giving you love. He's on the verge of superstardom. Then you've got Michael Wilson, solid starter. Dante Stills, solid starter. Like that draft has carried its weight. I don't want to say it's like done its job, but you didn't have a ton of picks, right? Mm-hmm. It was a draft that a lot of people were kind of up and down on. Like you did what you needed to do. If you have that kind of draft every like 2 or 3 years, guess what? You're going to be a contending team. So I just feel like the Ojulari would have been awesome had he hit 100%. Would they have gone a different direction at this point? Probably, right? For a kid who's unfortunately came into the Cardinals organization hurt, he had to have a cleanup surgery and then couldn't really find his footing as a rookie, was on a bad defense, and was poised by. I remember you texting me updates at training camp this year. Ojulari looks really good. They're going to be screwed if he gets hurt. Then he got hurt, right? So that's the NFL, but I don't know. I feel like 2023, I feel like we can put a check mark next to it. It has done its job.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Let's be honest with our audience. I never put if we can't let him get hurt. I didn't give that kiss.
You basically said I'm going to jinx him right now, and if he stays healthy, and then the next day blew out his knee.
Yeah, you can book it Sharpie and double-digit sacks for B.J. Ojulari with the qualifier if he doesn't suffer.
Let me find the text. I'll screenshot it. Put it on Twitter.
Knee injury. But look, if there are people out there that are concerned, like if you go out there and you're aggressively pursuing pass rush upgrades that is going to stunt and stand in the way of B.J. Ojulari, just look back to the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles defense. Johnny does it on a daily basis. Just look at their statistics. Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick all had double-digit sacks. There's going to be enough snaps and mouths to feed defensively that B.J. Ojulari can still have a breakout candidate. So, all right, let's get into it. So I think we got a couple different tiers here as far as what we want to do. Because we're Cardinal-centric show, we're not just going to give you one name and get out of here. I think we've got different tiers where we're going to have like star performances, guys who are going to have unbelievable seasons in 2025, as you kind of painted it up, cornerstone breakouts. And then you've got guys who are going to be like solid breakout candidates, guys that are going to emerge as somebody that you can rely upon, beyond next season with their performance in the upcoming campaign. And then out of nowhere guys, we're going to get real sick with it and kind of scrape the bottom of the barrel for the Cardinals and find out who's going to emerge in 2025.
Can we first, real quick, who would fit these qualifications? This would probably be better for pre-show prep.
Yeah.
For like 2024 of these metrics. I feel like, Garrett Williams and Paris Johnson Jr., whether you want to put one on star, one on solid, right? It's tough with Trey McBride. Would you put Trey McBride as a breakout?
Star status. Like,
yeah.
He went from like really good, hey, we got a good tight end, I think he's emerging, and he did. He continued that. His star continued to ascend. I think Trey McBride absolutely matches like the criteria for like our star tier. And then as far as the solid stuff, I think Paris Johnson Jr. and Garrett Williams absolutely fit that. No doubt about it. If not like just kind of the precipice of hitting the star portion of it as well.
And then you look at like an under the radar, it's tough because they still played a decent amount of veterans, right? And there's nobody unlike Trey from the last like latter two drafts of Steve Keim that have done anything. Yeah. It almost feels like you run it back with like a Dante Stills or somebody like that, where like he was inactive his first game. He was kind of an afterthought. Had an under the radar kind of year with Starling Thomas. Starling Thomas played good football. So there's a couple different options. Mac Wilson Sr. had an under the radar kind of year. So the more you start to add,
LJ Collier expected nothing from this year. And he emerged and he had a good season. Like, we're not saying like you're going to be talking about, this out of nowhere guy for years to come, but this is going to be somebody that's going to go from he was an afterthought this season to he's making plays for this team next year.
Yep, absolutely. Well, okay, we're going to go to a quick break and then we're going to turn right around and we're going to have our breakout players. We're going to do one apiece for the three tiers. That's coming up on PHNX Cardinals. But first, I'm a big haircut guy. I'm a big pizza guy. Help me with this pronunciation, Shane.
Spinato's, my man.
Spinato's Pizzeria. I may not be able to pronounce it, but I can eat it.
You're an Italian man.
Spinato's Pizzeria is the place for Suns fans. Spinato's is hosting official watch parties throughout the season. I feel like I pronounced it correctly before the show and I just got cold feet. Where you can watch the game with Suns, dancers, and the Gorilla. Stop by for your chance to win free Suns tickets, a gift certificate, and more exciting prizes. Plus, if you've got a decent jump shot, you can enter the Spinato's Pizza competition. We've all played horse on the basketball court. I'm more of a pig guy myself. Well, at Spinato's, they don't spell horse. They spell Pizza. Pizza. If you're spelling at home, you can win a free pizza for the year and tickets to a Suns game on April 9th. What's better than free tickets and free pizza? Nothing. Feel free. Cheer on your team and win big. Again, Spinato's Pizza. Get close to the action. We got our watch party, Spinato'sPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns.
Dude, Spinato's is like my childhood.
Oh, man.
They by far, bar none, have the best pizza sauce I've ever had.
It's delicious. It's like sweet.
So good. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's going to be my son's childhood as well. We ordered him a little cheese pizza. My wife get the spicy Italian, and we frequent the one on 7th Street in Missouri. Love Spinato's. Also love a Valley staple as far as a real estate group. Carol Royce, of course, if you're looking into buying a home here in 2025, keep this number handy. How about 480-776-5231? That's 480-776-5231. Carol Royce Real Estate Team, family owned and locally operated for 3 generations. Family members serving the Valley of the Sun. Carol and their team have an unbeatable track record of having sold over 12,000 homes. It's really unreal what's going on there. You can rest easy. You're not just making the right choice, but a guaranteed one. Love your home, or Carol will buy it back. If you're considering buying a home this year, the name to trust, Carol Royce, your home sold guaranteed realty. Move up to one of our listings and we'll buy your home for cash. Have questions? Call today or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. I want to know how you were going to pronounce Bonanos potentially.
That's how I was going to pronounce it.
Okay, good.
I've had it. I've seen it. It's great. It's of the highest.
You had it at my house, actually.
Correct. And I've picked it up. There's a location here in Gilbert that we frequent often. I got, sometimes you just get cold feet. I'm excited about new partners, but I want to serve them well. We want to serve you well here. Drop a like on this video. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. Almost 500 people watching already. We got Fran Duffy right around the corner. Cardinals, a lot of these breakout candidates from last year, from this year, Senior Bowl participants, Bo. So it's like, well, probably a good chance you're going to be watching somebody in the Senior Bowl that's playing for the Arizona Cardinals, maybe multiple. But let's jump right into it. Let's get to it. Cornerstone breakouts for the Arizona Cardinals. Hey, do these guys look familiar? Marvin Harrison Jr. for me, Darius Robinson. Bo, I'll let you go first. Number 56 is a cornerstone.
Yeah, you're right. As we kind of hit and knock PFF for kind of going a little chalk, we go the absolute utmost chalk with the Cardinals' 2 first-round picks, and Darius Robinson is my choice, the 27th overall. You can't spin it any other way. It was an absolute nightmare of a rookie season. You feel for the guy, right? Suffered the serious calf injury right before the start of the year and didn't play again until week 11. And he endured, of course, that personal tragedy. He lost his mother unexpectedly. And, I believe a healthy Darius Robinson, D-Rob, establishes himself in 2025. Don't get lost in the 6 games he played last season. Far too often do I see it on my Twitter timeline, people calling him a bust and saying it's a wasted pick or is a reach. He was limited in each and every one of his practices all the way till the end of the season. So he was never truly healthy. And people are going to say, but Bo, look at the PFF grades. Look at the sacred scripts from the compiled from Joe Blow in his mother's basement about what they saw on tape and graded him on that website. Like, Robinson was the most dominant line of scrimmage player for the Arizona Cardinals in training camp. There's no doubt about it. And I expect him in year 2, Johnny, his numbers with a healthy season to resemble those of his final year in the SEC at Missouri that made him a first-round pick. I'm talking like 14 or 15 TFLs and about 8.5 sacks from an interior defensive line player. I think that's fair to assume with D-Rob. And like, if he can just put this season behind him, put the injury behind him, the adversity, you always love to root for people who face adversity, come out stronger, and have gain success from it. I think D-Rob's fully capable of doing that.
Yeah, there's some revisionist history going on right now with some actuallys on Twitter saying Braden Fisk was always the choice for the Cardinals.
Right.
No draft analyst had, of note, Braden Fisk ahead of Darius Robinson. Darius Robinson was a firm first-round pick. He was the 2nd defensive tackle drafted. And he was somebody in Monti Ossenfort was literally pearl clutching that he would fall to 27. If we go back and look at the flight plan episode. So
the big guy, he called him.
Yeah, he was unbelievable in training camp. He can play. It's not like when the Cardinals draft Isaiah Simmons and he couldn't play, right? Or they drafted all these other guys, in the first round. It's like, I don't know if that guy has it. Troy Nicholas, Notre Dame. Like there's been a bunch of players like that. That's not Darius Robinson. Darius Robinson, people are probably sick of me saying this, was their best front 7 player. Veterans, linebackers, pass rusher. He was the best. He was the best at training camp. Then he got hurt. And it's really unfortunate. I'm just glad he was able to play some games this year. And a full off season and strength and conditioning program, he's going to be fine. And I'm with you. He's going to break out. And he's going to be one of those players nationally that people are like, oh, yeah, I remember Darius Robinson. He's a really good football player. Speaking of good football players, mine, Marvin Harrison Jr. If you missed our interview with Solomon Wilcox, SiriusXM NFL, go check that out. I thought he had one of the best descriptions as it relates to the Cardinals' apathy a little bit this year with Marvin Harrison Jr., their lack of urgency to get him targets. I know a lot of people are like, go 110% all the time, even if you're just kind of going through the motions or run blocking. And Solomon has covered this game for a long time and basically said, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, now Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., those guys have had offenses catered to them, right? especially Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. What else they have going on? Stat padding with Mac Jones and, Tommy DeVito. Like, the Cardinals were trying to win the NFC
put some
West.
respect on Drew Lock's name.
Oh, sorry about that. The Cardinals were trying to win the NFC West. And I'm not saying Marvin was better than those two players, but you're telling me if Marvin was a priority of Drew Petzing, Marvin Harrison Jr. would have 1,000 yards today, unequivocally. And we're looking at 900 yards roughly and 8 touchdowns as a failure. I just feel like, saw it in the chat, 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns is going to be the baseline. I think it's going to be closer to 1,300 or 1,400 yards next year. I think he'd probably take away some targets and some yardage from Trey. But if you're Kyler Murray, especially, it was just going to behoove you to go to your best wide receiver early and often next year. So I think Marvin's going to be motivated by this year. And again, like, if you have questions about Marvin Harrison Jr., that's warranted. I think we're going to know exactly what we need to September of next year. Like, is this guy going to be a big-time player for years to come? Is he going to use this offseason for motivation? 1,000%. So I say it every time we talk about MHJ. If you've got stock selling on MHJ, I'll buy it up right now.
Yeah.
He's too talented. He's too physically gifted. He's too competitive. The offense has to evolve to feature him, in my opinion.
Yeah, send that my way as well. That if we're buying low, I'm absolutely getting in there on number 18. And you saw, like, the last 3 weeks of the season, they start to show more targets to him. And I think especially the last 2 weeks, you saw him put up some numbers that we're going to expect to see consistently throughout next year. So, like, right around 8 targets per game. It's got to be around 8 to 10 to 12 targets per game for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. But once he gets into that flow, you're going to see that catch rate go up. And the big plays, I think, will follow, especially the splash plays they lacked in the passing game consistently will follow MHJ. All right, let's get to the next tier of this. Who's going to go from kind of maybe a backup player or an under-the-radar guy to a solid starter there? You're going to look back at 2025 and say, okay, that guy, you can rely upon him going forward. You set it and forget it as far as that position goes because this guy locked it in. Johnny, we'll start with you since I kicked things off with the first round.
Yeah, I'm going Isaiah Adams, third-round guard out of the University of Illinois, who played sparingly but did start, I think, the last quarter of the season. Took over for Will Hernandez eventually and played really well down the stretch. I think he almost got 500 snaps this year, right? He only allowed 2 sacks. That's a far cry from kind of the up and down nature, and that's being kind from what took place with the big man in the preseason. He was not ready to play, but we had his position coach on from the University of Illinois last offseason. Go check out that interview if you haven't seen it. Basically, Isaiah Adams was projected to be a top 50 prospect at guard as a junior. And then as a senior at the University of Illinois, they had injuries. They had to move him to tackle. He was selfless, and it hurt his draft stock as a result. And the Cardinals are going to likely benefit from that. 6'5", 315. They didn't draft him to be a backup. And again, like, what do I say damn near on every show right now, Bo, is the best position unit coached on this team is the offensive line. They've done a hell of a job with Paris Johnson Jr. Think about the jump Paris had. Last year, he was pretty solid, right? Okay at times. He was just out there every down. This year, he's a Pro Bowl alternate. Isaiah Adams, I think, is going to go from a backup fringe starter to a really nice starter settling into his role. Now, I think it would help, again, if they brought back Kelvin Beachum. I wouldn't love the idea of Isaiah Adams starting next to, like, a top 50 rookie, at least to start next year.
Yeah, that's a lot of youth.
Yeah, but he's going to be 25 this offseason. So he's an older second-year player. And somebody, again, you look at some of his metrics toward the end here, his PFF grades, they're relatively modest. Now, we know he's an elite run blocker at the collegiate level, and you saw that. But he had some performances over 60 down the stretch via PFF, so he's an easy one to telegraph. They drafted him to be a starter. I know a lot of people, Bo, are like, bring back Will Hernandez, resign. Like, they're not bringing back Will Hernandez. Evan Brown, we'll see. Isaiah Adams is the starting guard for this team.
Yeah, look, I mean, he was somebody that people were up in arms about in preseason. His performances were so poor, but then by the end of the year, there was the confidence to start him. And you mentioned the numbers there that are encouraging. And also you say 25, but it's as far as the NFL world or the football world, he's young. He didn't really start playing football until a late age. He was a hockey player, goes to JUCO, goes to Illinois. He's bouncing around as far as where he needs to play on that line. He's versatile, But as far as the athleticism, the size, the strength, it's everything you want. Can he kind of develop, mature into a starting, guard in this league? Cardinals are certainly confident about it. All right, I'm going to stay with mine. I'm going to go an earlier round. I'm going to take Max Melton. Of course, there was, doesn't come without controversy. People want to say, oh, you missed on Cooper DeJean, even though Cooper DeJean plays the same position as Garrett Williams. Max Melton has the edge for me because he plays outside corner. Mm-hmm. And I think that Max Melton, some would call him a JG pick in this previous draft. And he started on teams at gunner at times, and he flashed in his limited defensive snaps. He played 51% of the snaps on defense. He had to kind of take a backseat to Starling Thomas and Sean Murphy-Bunting, but when he got in there, he flashed. And I think with more playing time, you'll see Mad Max emerge. And his last full game, he got injured in the finale against the 49ers, Johnny. His last full game was week 17 on the road against Los Angeles. And he was in coverage 35 times, allowed 1 target and no catches in that game. It was a dominant performance against the Rams. He just took out whoever he was covering in that game. Matthew Stafford didn't even want to throw his way. So increased playing time. I think he emerges as one of their top outside corners for the Cardinals by the end of next season. You're going to say, okay, this is the guy. This is the CB1. You've got Garrett Williams starring in the slot, and you've really got 2 of a premium position accounted for with those guys.
Cardinals are going to be on the verge of, at the end of 2025, having an elite secondary. We're going to get to that a little bit later on, but I'm with you. I think Max Melton, that was a Jonathan Gannon pick, and it doesn't mean Jonathan Gannon had his fingerprints all over it. No, Jonathan Gannon picked Max Melton. He went to Monti Ossenfort. We have that source this is who I want, and give it credit to Ossenfort. They could have gone, how's Kool-Aid McKinstry doing? How's my boy Kool-Aid doing? Everybody thought that was a miss at the time. And Cooper DeJean, he's a punt returner slot corner, right? Quinyon Mitchell is the gem of their draft class. He plays outside corner. He was a first-round pick for a reason. I'm with you. I think Max Melton, you're going to be able to say, very similar to Garrett Williams, ironically enough, a day 2 pick. I mean, the Cardinals know how to draft secondary players under Monti Ossenfort, do they not? I mean, you just got to feel really good about his trajectory. We saw how he competed against Marv 2 years ago at Ohio State versus Rutgers. We saw he never looked overwhelmed this year. Outside of his first game when he was thrust into action when Murphy-Bunting got hurt, I think it may be against the Packers, he was seamless. Every week it was ho-hum. He had a great game. We were on the road against the Miami Dolphins, battling with Tyreek Hill, right? Going step for step with him. Tyreek Hill didn't go off that game. So I'm optimistic. He is somebody, absolutely. I could, not only as a solid player, but somebody that I could very much see have a Garrett Williams kind of escalation next year where it's he's a top 10 cornerback in the NFL based off man coverage. I think he's got that kind of physicality. As we wrap things up here, we got Fran Duffy right around the corner, but let's get to our under the radar picks, Bo Brock. So we've done cornerstone, we've done solid. Let's go under the radar here, and I'll get things started, Bo. Somebody that I think could make, unfortunately, another starter on the Cardinals expendable this offseason. Dadrian Taylor-Demerson was the highest graded defender on the Arizona Cardinals defense, not named Garrett Williams and Budda Baker. Is that good? You saw his elite coverage skills. He was the highest rated coverage player on the Cardinals this year in the secondary. You saw the athleticism jump off the screen in the preseason. He has the ability to take the ball away. He's somebody at the end of the day, as a 4th-round pick, is going to force his way onto the field next year. It would behoove the Cardinals, who are trying to get younger, more athletic, and especially force those turnovers that they desperately didn't have this year. Fair or not, Jalen Thompson, no interceptions, no forced fumbles. It's this kid goes out there and he gets his hands on the football. So I think Rabbit Taylor-Demerson is somebody we're going to talk about at the end of 2025, and you're going to say that's a kid that's going to be around for a long time, that's going to be another Jonathan Gannon kind of gem as a safety that he's seen so many others, especially with his time in Philadelphia. I mean, this secondary, we're just so bullish on, Bo.
Yeah, no, and he's a big reason for that. Rabbit Taylor-Demerson, he starred at the Shrine Bowl where Fran Duffy is right now last season. He's cerebral, he's athletic, he's a ball hawk, and I think he's somebody that is going to emerge next season. I got a little grosser with my pick. I went with somebody who was only active a handful of games last season for the Cardinals, Xavier Weaver, but they kept him on the active roster. Yeah, I think Xavier Weaver, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Colorado, with the potential of Greg Dortch moving on, I think Xavier Weaver could cut out, maybe carve out a role on special teams, and maybe just kind of a backup receiver, but he's got big play potential, and the Cardinals kept him around for a reason, and I think he'll maybe show some of that as early as next training camp preseason and maybe make some flash and splash plays for the Cardinals next season. Coming up next, as I mentioned, Rabbit Taylor Demerson, he shined at the Shrine Bowl last year. Our guy, Fran Duffy, our All-City NFL draft expert analyst, is going to join us live from there to give us the biggest insight who the Cardinals could maybe attach themselves to, look at from the Shrine Bowl, and then preview next week's Senior Bowl. It's all coming up next, PHNX Cardinals. We're talking about our friends over at Cult Cannabis and True Leave. Love Cult Cannabis and True Leave. It's the collaboration we've all been waiting for, and they came together. You got them going on right now. Your local True Leave, you can find Cult Cannabis, huge variety of premium flower. It's tough to find good flower, but Cult Cannabis has been cooking it up for a while right now, and even dropping it off here at PHNX Sports Studios. It's Thursday, and you know that means the deal for our friends over at Cult Cannabis at your local neighborhood True Leave. 2 of these Cult jars, $70, $35 a jar. What a deal right there. This is a deal from our friends over at True Leave. We love Cult Cannabis. We love True Leave. Get over to trueleave.com, find your local dispensary, and get those Cult jars. $70 for 2, $35 a jar. Be sure to check out the new True Leave location in Maricopa, opened last week. Get over to trueleave.com, find your local shop, and place an order and tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you.
Yeah, we're levering up with our draft coverage with Fran. We're saving money with our friends at Circle K via the Inner Circle. It's the free new membership program, America's Thirst Stop. Save 25 cents per gallon. Your first 5 fill-ups, save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Again, thirst, it's met, it's match. Enjoy your member exclusive beverage deal. The Inner Circle members like you, like me, like Bo, like Shane, Polar Pop or Froster, just 79 cents. They had that over the summer. They said, you know what? Let's extend it because people love it. Of course, I love saving money with my friends, your friends at Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com, Bo, for more details. We are fired up to welcome, debuting on the show, as he just tweeted out. Check him out, F Duffy NFL on Twitter. Just landed in Dallas for the Shrine Bowl. It's All-City NFL analyst Fran Duffy joining the program. Fran, how we doing? You jet lagged yet?
Not quite. I will say, haven't unpacked the bag. Literally walked in the hotel about 5 minutes ago. So we got in under the gun, but I'm excited to jump on with you guys.
Yeah, Fran, we're excited to tap into your insight. You've already churned out so many prospect breakdowns that you're going to be able to find over at gophnx.com and our, of course, so many different sites under the All-City umbrella. 150, 200. How many prospects are you deep right now?
We're north of 150, shy of 200. So we'll get there. It's going to be a crazy couple of weeks, and then obviously we got the combine right around the corner, and so things are certainly going to be picking up for sure.
What's the best player on the surface at the Shrine Bowl this week, regardless of position? If you had to say like a guy who has a chance to really help himself this week, maybe elevate himself to like a day 2 pick, who would you point out?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Johnny, because I think when you look at a number of players that are down here, there are potential first-round picks that are here. The question that we won't know until we take the field on Saturday is how many of these guys are going to practice, right? Like Trey Harris, the receiver from Ole Miss, he's injured, so he's not practicing. Savon Revel, this is a corner from ECU. I had in my first-round mock draft. I had him in the top 20. He's here. He's coming off an ACL. He's not practicing. Shedeur Sanders, so the quarterback from Colorado, potential top 5 pick. He's here. Is he going to throw? I don't think so. And so now it's just a matter of all right, who is actually going to be taking the field? The guy that I would keep an eye on certainly is the nose tackle from Michigan, Kenneth Grant. Now, he was announced for the Shrine Bowl, a true junior. That is a new rule here starting about a year ago where underclassmen can participate in these all-star games. And so Kenneth Grant from Michigan, this is a guy that has been just a one-year starter. He was on that national championship defense in 2023, but this was his first year as a starter. All kinds of traits, guys. He would be a player certainly that would fit down there in Arizona. But I think when you look at just the overall skill set and the traits there, there's a lot to dream on with Kenneth Grant.
Yeah, maybe inform our audience a little bit of your background, because you do have an immense amount of familiarity with Jonathan Gannon, and I'm sure Nick Rallis with your time covering the Eagles.
Yeah, so I just joined ALLCITY this summer, but the previous 14 seasons worked with the Philadelphia Eagles and did all kinds of content with PhiladelphiaEagles.com, a lot of draft stuff, league wide. I've been looking at all 32 teams for years now, and so it was there for the last 14 years. The 5 years previous was working with the Temple football team, and that's really where I kind of cut my teeth. Learning how to break down film, working with coaches and players every single day. So that's kind of my background, I would say, in football. But yeah, I was there certainly through Jonathan Gannon's 2 years that he was there in Philadelphia in 2021, 2022. Nick Rallis there as the linebackers coach as well. So yeah, don't have I don't want to say I know exactly the type of player, but I got a pretty good sense. Weekly press conferences with JG, you definitely start to pick things up in terms of the types of players that he likes, and I think that too the track record over these last couple of years kind of speaks for itself. There's a nice little profile that is being generated here in terms of the types of players. And Bo, you mentioned, you had Rabbit come from the Shrine Bowl last year, but a third of their picks under Ossenfort and under JG have come from the Shrine Bowl. I was just looking at the list before I jumped on. A number of players. Obviously, Tip Ryman last year was a day 2 pick, but he was at the Shrine Bowl. You have Taylor Demerson, Xavier Thomas, Tawan Palmer, John Gaines, Kytrell Clark, and Dante Stills all were at the Shrine Bowl. So a third of their picks, I would say, of any fan base in the NFL, the Cardinals fan base should be paying attention to who are the standout players down here at the Star in Dallas this week.
Yeah, everybody but Tip Ryman, a day 3 pick. So again, tap in on Saturday with Shrine Bowl. Let's look ahead, if I could, Fran, to next week and the Senior Bowl, which you will be at in Mobile. Yep. And you mentioned Jonathan Gannon, his type. The Cardinals need pass rushers. Thankfully, this is year to grab one. I look at a guy like Mike Green from a small school, Marshall, and that does give me some concern. But, Quinyon Mitchell, small school last year, dominated the Senior Bowl. Now could be en route to winning Defensive Rookie of the Year or contending for it. Like, why should Cardinal fans feel good about, after taking Zaven Collins out of Tulsa a couple years ago at pick 16 and not really panning out to what you want as a first rounder? What, in your opinion, makes Mike Green worth that investment, albeit from a small school?
Well, the first thing you want to see from a small school player is dominating that level of competition. And, Mike Green comes out this year, his first year as a starter with the Thundering Herd, 35 hurries, 3 forced fumbles, 17 sacks, 23 TFLs. When you look at that stat line alone, he's stuffing the stat sheet in a number of ways. He was extremely, extremely productive in that lone year as a starter. I think when you look at the way that he's able to impact the game, he's a solid run defender, and obviously we talk about the pass rush productivity. To me, one of the things that this Arizona staff will like about Mike Green, this guy never stops going. He plays extremely hard. The rush is never over with him. So I think when you look at the way that he plays, I think it fits very well with that hits principle, the things that JG likes to harp on in terms of that play intensity. I think that play personality will mesh in well with what JG and Nick Rallis have going there defensively in the desert.
Fran, we talked about all the research you've already put into this draft class, and let's talk about the Cardinals and where they're selecting the first round, 16th overall. Some drafts, you could be picking 16, and because of the quarterback class or whatever variables go into it, teams are picking a guy that's going to be an impact maker. Do you see that this draft has enough depth to where 16 that the Cardinals are going to get somebody that's going to kind of present himself between now and draft night that Cardinals fans are going to be really excited about and can make an impact as early as the 2025 season?
Yeah, I would say honestly that the Cardinals fans should be happy with where they're at. It's the 16th spot is a nice spot in this first round, because honestly, if you're picking higher than that, there's not a lot of difference between the players that are going to be going 7, 8, 9 versus 16 in this class. I think at the very top, this class is really lacking in terms of that true blue chip talent. But as you start getting into the middle stages of round one, you start getting into that part of the draft, I think it starts to level out and it's more what you would expect. And so I think there will be a lot of options. Honestly, this is going to be a very weird first round of the draft. Obviously, we'll get wind of the players that a lot of people are talking about as we get into late April. But I think the big thing is that there's a good possibility this is one of those years where a player goes 8 overall. I remember back when like Tyson Alualu went in the first round of the Jacksonville Jaguars in the top 10. fan. Everyone's like, whoa, what's going on here? The Buffalo Bills taking Dante Whitner at 8 overall, and people did not expect that. I think this could be a draft where you start to see that those surprise names, going off the board, just because there's a lot of ambiguity right now in terms of who's going to be those top 15, top 20 type of selections. That's why the Senior Bowl is going to be huge next week, because when you talk about the defensive line and edge rush, and obviously that's a position that's at the forefront of Arizona Cardinals fans' minds. It's going to be a great group next week down in Mobile, working in the trenches, in one-on-ones, defensive line versus offensive line. Those kind of things could be a really good tiebreaker for a number of those players.
Common denominator I feel like I hear with this class, Fran. Number one, it's got a great line of scrimmage players on both sides of the ball. Number two, this quarterback class is subpar, right?
Yep.
But then I do feel like the closer we get to draft season, it's like how many quarterbacks are going to go in the first round? How many teams are going to force a selection? And could this be, the year like when Kenny Pickett was the first quarterback drafted in the 20s? Give me your assessment of this group, because I think Cardinals aren't going to take one in the first round. But I hearken back to when you were in Philadelphia and they had Carson Wentz and they couldn't break through that ceiling, and he got hurt and he was drafted by a prior regime. And then they took Jalen Hurts in the second and it blew everybody's mind. Is there a player maybe like that that could fall coincidentally to the Cardinals maybe in the second round where teams might be saying, hey, that could be the heir apparent to Kyler Murray?
Yeah, I think that's certainly possible. I think when you look at this group, I think that this group overall is better than that Kenny Pickett class, the Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder group. I think it is better than that class overall. I do think that the demand outweighs the supply as we sit here in mid-January. But I think when you look at next week, Jalen Milroe, the quarterback from Alabama, he is a player certainly that can help himself and kind of boost himself into that first round conversation. And there are a number of other players that, down there when you're looking at Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, another guy, Tyler Shuck from Louisville, is a player that I really like on film. I think he's got next level potential. And so there are a couple players I think that can play their way and improve their stock potentially into round one or into the middle stages of day two, Johnny. So I think, if we're talking about a pure day two pick, I guess right now is that Milroe is there as we sit here and could play his way into a higher slot. And then Tyler Shuck would be the guy that I would say, okay, maybe he's able to play his way into that day two range. And as long as the big thing with him is going to be the medical, because he's a 6th or 7th year senior.
Yeah, isn't he 25?
Yeah, he came into Oregon as Justin Herbert's backup, and Justin Herbert was still there. So we're talking, this guy's been in college for a while, but his film was very good this year. And obviously, look, when you're looking at Bo Nix coming out of college, he was an older player. We're seeing this more and more. Jaden Daniels, obviously, a lot of these guys go back for that extra year. They're 5th and 6th year guys. Michael Penix, and the NFL is saying, okay, you put in those times, you put in those hours. We're feeling a little bit more comfortable taking you a little bit earlier than maybe we were 4 or 5 years ago.
Last year was such a big draft for this team. 2 first rounders, 12 picks overall, 7 in the top 100. Just to kind of get in a sense, because we're going to get into the weeds with you here throughout the draft season and have some conversation about this year's prospects. But as you evaluate Monti Ossenfort, he's had 21 picks in his first 2 seasons. How do you feel about Monti Ossenfort as far as the general manager and his feel for the draft? And where do you think maybe he can improve in his 3rd draft?
Yeah, I think that, one of the things that I love studying, guys, is just looking at decision makers and their process. You start to get a sense of like what I was talking about earlier, the type of player that they like to trend towards, right? And so, everybody's got types, and look, you can only take one player at a time. And so it doesn't tell you everything, because one thing I've learned, being in this business now for almost 2 decades, is that when a draft choice is made, it's very rare that, this was the GM's pick or this was the head coach's pick. Teams will say like, hey, this was an organizational pick. Very often that is the case, because you need everybody. If they can't get on the same page, there's often a lot of compromise made with a lot of these types of selections. But at the end of the day, when I look at Monti Ossenfort, I like the type of player that they go to. I like the gambles that they do take. I look at Marvin Harrison Jr. It was kind of an easy evaluation from that standpoint. But I think, even Paris Johnson, this was a player that when I looked at him coming out of Ohio State, I said, this is a guy that had all the athletic traits. Maybe the film wasn't quite there, but you loved the character and you loved the athleticism and the ability there. All right, let's coach this guy up. And that's a gamble I think that's worth taking. And I think when you start looking at some of these other players that they've taken, you look at Max Melton, you look at, Isaiah Adams was a player that I was high on coming out last year. Tip Ryman, you start betting on some of these Garrett Williams was a guy, guys, he was a top 30 player for me when he was coming out of Syracuse a few years ago. Obviously the injury was a big part of the reason why he fell to day 2. But, when I start looking at BJ Ojulari and Michael Wilson and Tip Ryman, you start saying, okay, these are athletic players that have high character. So there's the high floor with the potential for the high ceiling. I like those kind of gambles personally. Now, not every single one has worked out up to this point, but I do like the overall profile for what Monti Ossenfort and what Jonathan Gannon have gone for.
You know what? I think I found another player that fits that criteria. High floor, high character. He happens to play edge rusher for Ohio State University. Jack Sawyer, give me your 30-second scouted report, because he's a topic of discussion on this show. Cardinals have used back-to-back first-round picks, Fran, on Ohio State players. They have a pipeline there. They feel comfortable there with Ryan Day and his team, and they need an edge rusher, and Ohio State's got a couple of them this year. Do you feel like Jack Sawyer right now is worth a first-round pick?
I would say when I look at this entire edge rush group, I think that he's probably on the outside looking in when it comes to the first round. Obviously, look, he is like the heart and soul of that defense. He plays extremely hard. His play strength, that is his best physical trait. That's what I would call his trump card. When you look at his projection to the NFL, he's got solid size, 6'4", 260 pounds. His arm length, that's going to come into question, I think, once we get to the combine. He's not supposed to be at the Senior Bowl next week, so we're not going to be able to see him up close until Indy. But I think when you look at Jack Sawyer, he definitely plays the way that JG wants. I just think that he'll probably be a step below what you want from a physical standpoint stepping into the first round. I think once you start getting into day 2, then it's more likely. But there are a number of other players I think that just they've got the edge on them when it comes to like those athletic traits that get you drafted that high.
It's interesting. Johnny's a big Jack Sawyer guy. I'm looking for a little bit more upside. So one last thing I want to sneak in, Fran, because it's such people around here are Scattaboo crazy. They love Scat. Just your initial thoughts on Cam Scattaboo and where he fits as far as his running back class. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I was on with the guys at CHGO last week. They all want him, and I made the joke.
No,
I said
that's not allowed. We don't like that. I don't want that.
Well, I said I was like all 32 fan bases want Cam Scattaboo. Like every single one is going to say like, yeah, I want that guy in round 3. I want this guy in round 4. I think when you look at his skill set, 5'11", 215, and a lot of people, there's all kinds of comparisons being thrown out, when it comes to him. People say Peyton Hillis and, James Conner. I've seen like Brian Leonard, the former Rutgers, running back who went in the second round. The thing that I caution those comps with, Peyton Hillis, he was 6'1", 240. James Conner was 6'1", 233. And Cam Scattaboo is listed 5'11", 215. So we're talking like a difference of a couple inches and like 20, 30 pounds. I think that he has maximized everything. He is so strong. I love his balance. Look, there are athletic limitations that were the reason why he was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school, right? And why he went to Sacramento State as opposed to going FBS or even Group of 5 coming out of high school. But you love the productivity. You love the versatility. You love the football character. I do think that he fits what JG and those guys would want. So if you want a great story of him being able to stay home, and play in that state, I think that absolutely would make sense. I think when you look at the versatility as a pass catcher, he's been so productive there, in that area. That was honestly a guy. Honestly, we'll keep it in the All-City family. As I was watching that bowl game, I said, man, the Denver Broncos would love Cam Scott like that. To me, like Peyton Hillis or Taysom Hill is like a perfect A-to-A comparison there for Sean Payton. And so I think when you look at Cam Scattaboo, there's a lot to like there. But I do worry what that athletic limitations are. And then at that size, comparing him to some of those other backs, some of those other contemporaries, I think is a little tricky.
I feel so bad because but we're gonna bring Fran on, and he's got tremendous insight, obviously, and he wants to talk about these top tier prospects, and we're just getting gross with some of our favorites here. On
No, please keep those rolling, because that's what I want to talk about these guys.
Yes,
we're having Fran. He has to like pick a winner between you and I's dumb battles that we have on this show on a daily basis.
We're fired up, Fran, to welcome you to our team. We thrive here in draft season, mainly because that's the highlight of our year for Cardinal fans. But we're getting closer, thanks to Monti Ossenfort, and we're getting smarter thanks to our guy, Fran Duffy. Check out his work at F Duffy NFL. He's going to be covering the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl back-to-back weeks. Fran, we appreciate you, my guy, and keep us posted. The ear on the ground this week at the Shrine Bowl.
Sounds good, guys. So we'll talk again soon.
Tremendous insight there from Fran Duffy, ALLCITY NFL draft analyst, who's going to be he's a busy man the next 2 weeks in Dallas for the Shrine Bowl. He's going to go brave the cold temperatures in Mobile next week at the Senior Bowl. So excited to hear all that from Fran.
Those riverboats in Biloxi aren't even open anymore right now.
No. The Dream? What's the barbecue that we love so much? Dreamland Barbecue is going to be keeping everybody warm in Mobile.
Yeah, he's just gonna have to go check out the local Chili's, Applebee's kind of establishment there. We love Fran. Can't wait to have him back on. And check out Fran's work, by the way. Unparalleled in all seriousness at gophnx.com. He does exclusive Cardinal write-ups for draft season. So you talk about pairing prospects with the team. And again, who's got better insight than the man that spent how long? At least half a decade with the Philadelphia Eagles, overlapped time with JG and company. Big thanks to our guy, Fran. Your super chats and more coming up on PHNX Cardinals.
Johnny, our friends over at Pure Edibles, founded here in Arizona, established in Flagstaff and making a move to the big city here in Phoenix. We're so excited to be partnered with them. Their gummies, they're not covered in sugar like all their competitors, right? It's going to be a full-fledged candy company, but it's not going to put a bunch of just trash in your system. They're gonna, obviously emphasize, what experience you're looking for, and of course taste, and they're not going to compromise that as well. Full-fledged candy company offering the gummies, the kicks. If you're watching on with us, you can see the kicks there. They're just like Starburst. Also, you've got the chews, the soft candies like caramel, and also hard candies. And the Pure Effects are all listed on each 10, so you know exactly what the effects to expect with your Pure Edibles experience. Pure was created, as I said, at the Noble Herb Dispensary up there in Flagstaff, just up the I-17, but now it's here in Phoenix. You got to check them out right now online, whether you're looking gummies that offer sleep support, as well as candies for uplifting effects derived from unique cannabinoids, and also CBN, CBG, CBD with marijuana-derived THC. Check it out right now. Pure Gummies are designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easy to share and easy to dial in the exact dose. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles at one of 130 dispensaries in AZ.
You mentioned some riverboat establishments that might be closed in Dallas and in Mobile. How about what's never closed? Our friends at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Wild Horse Pass, hello. I miss going out to Gila during our Sunday watch parties, but the good news is the party doesn't stop. Chance to win right now, by the way, with Gila. $5.9 million this big game. Again, score more than just touchdowns this February. Gila's giving away the chance to win $5.9 million with their free prop play. Beginning January 27th through February 8th, visit the GilaPropPlay.com and answer 26 questions about the big game for your shot at the grand prize. Now, here's the deal. It's free to enter. Enter for free. And again, make your big game predictions. They've got instant winning score prizes from $5 to $100, free bonus plays. So it's, again, even if you're not winning the close to $6 million, you're still winning with Gila. They've got, of course, the $5.9 million jackpot. Answer all 26 questions correctly, and you're going to win. You do you. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. The only thing we got to do for Gila is we got to get the Cardinals winning when we do our Sunday watch parties next year. But hopefully the Suns and their watch parties, they'll remedy that. Cardinals couldn't come through for us this year. Just one dub for our home games that play Gila this year. Not good enough, Cardinals. Boo.
But what a dub it was. The comeback win over the 49ers.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember I was with you, me and Damon Dawg taking it in.
I was there.
Shane was there
We
as well.
shared a warm embrace.
We did. We all hugged.
They had, I mean,
Johnny kissed me on the cheek, I think. Actually.
I had no,
weird.
I kind of conditioned myself to the entire game they were going to lose. So like,
yeah,
I never watched a game like it wasn't. I enjoyed my time at Gila, of course. I never felt good while Cardinal games were on there. I always felt bad. The Vikings game, I felt bad. The Ram. I mean, there's not a worse back-to-back week than Vikings and then Rams, where the Cardinals just blew those two games at Gila when they should have been dubs.
Yeah, it was. I did feel that the entire game. I mean, they trailed the entire game, and then they pulled out a miraculous dub, and we were all celebrating together. You inspired in the chat kind of a rivalry between Applebee's and Chili's. Did you mean to do that?
No, but there's no competition. Listen, Applebee's is respectfully one step above.
No free ads. No free ads. No free ads.
Come on, you're not Max.
We're ending this.
I'd like to hear it.
I need a triple dipper in my life right now. I need a triple dipper. Oh, excuse me? That is not true.
It is 100%.
Applebee's is like basically frozen food from the grocery store that people throw into like an air fryer. Here are your Applebee's food. Chili's is it's one step below from like a tier 1, restaurant for me. Like if I
the tier 1 restaurant,
it is tier 1 fast food dining in like chain restaurants that you dine in, like Cheesecake Factory and stuff. Chili's is tier 1.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know where you're going with that one. Our guy Brian saying 5.9 million would make it rain super chats. Absolutely. Actually, you guys you're making it rain super chats anyways. Got some great super chats. You guys lighting it up all afternoon. Let's start with our friend Donnie picking spreads as he kicks things off at $4.99. Johnny, you're not allowed to slander edge rusher Mike Green from Marshall because of his school. He's the Quignon of edge rushers. Don't think about it.
I need to think about it. That's the responsible thing to do. Now, his tape is elite against Ohio State. His tape is elite against schools of quality, right? So I can feel good about that. Plus, he plays edge rusher at Marshall. He's going to play edge rusher in the NFL. So, no, if he's the Cardinals pick as of January 23rd, I'm okay with that. Let's keep it going.
I think Khalil Mack is the edge rusher of small schools. You don't have to do the Quignon comp.
Or Hassan Reddick out of Temple.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you want to switch him off ball linebacker? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, I'd be a hypocrite if I said only give me Power 5 edge rushers because what's his name? Tyree Wilson, who played for technically a Power 5 school, Texas Tech. I mean, the guy's a scrub. He can't play. Terrence, $4.99. What do y'all think of James Pierce Jr.? Actually, he was our first round pick yesterday. I went to the Bama game and he was unreal as a Tennessee Vol. I'd love JPJ off the edge in Arizona. Terrence, all seriousness, I think I speak for Bo. If we can pick one realistic player, that's him at pick 16.
Yeah, he's the guy that you don't hesitate if he's still on the board at 16, and even consider getting up the board if he slides in the general vicinity of 16. I think he would be, the prototype as far as what the Cardinals are looking for in this draft. So Mel Kiper Jr. dropped his 1.0 mock yesterday, and James Pierce, he had him on the board along with the other top pass rushers. One we just mentioned, Mike Green and Nick Scourton, and he was like, 16's too rich for James Pierce. I completely disagree with that take from Mel Kiper, who's been doing it for like 4 decades.
Maybe hang it up, Mel. Real quick, jump on over if you're watching with one of our many phenomenal streaming partners. Jump on over to gophnx.com, become a diehard. Everybody, we've got 700 people watching live wherever you're at. Come on over and like this video. Let's get 500 likes here on a Football Thursday. Quickly, but I do want to echo something that you said earlier in the show as it relates to like revisionist history, right? And cherry picking rookie stats and Braden Fisk, everybody slobbering all over him. We've got resident Seattle homer Shane producing the show today. Hey, Shane Diefenbach, Byron Murphy II was Seattle's first round pick and is going to be a good player. Would you trade Byron Murphy for Braden Fisk today?
I mean, if I'm being forced to like say yes or no right now, I would probably say yes.
Really?
Maybe there's so.
But isn't that like the point?
You look
is
at
like,
Byron Murphy and you're like, he's going to be a better player.
right? And you look at Darius.
Production wise, you just don't know. And the injuries scared me in his first year. Like, I don't know.
I would say an emphatic no.
No.
I would not make that
I would
deal.
trade
Kobe Turner's on that defensive line with Braden Fisk.
I would trade Byron Murphy for Jared Verse.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think all the other NFL teams would do that.
That's just kind of the point. Byron Murphy had 1 sack this year. Does that mean he can't play? No. Darius Robinson had 1 sack this year. I think it's great that the nominees for Defensive Rookie of the Year are out there, and everybody thinks the Rams and the Eagles are geniuses because they had 2 apiece. I just think that right now these rookies need a little bit more time in the element, especially for a defensive class, Bo, that didn't have a defender drafted until Byron Murphy or Dallas Turner or whomever it was. So I thought I'd bring that up because, again, I looked at Byron Murphy's numbers before the show. He had 1 sack this year, and nobody's coming out and saying, oh my God, Braden Fisk should have gone top 10. We'll check back on old Braden Fisk. The Cardinals ran up and down the LA Rams this year, so
let's keep it going. Reezy, baby, $5. Big friend of the show. If a healthy BJ Ojulari is the 3rd best pass rusher next year, would be a top 8 defense, according to Reezy.
I think he should be a backup. We broke it down on yesterday's show. I think Baron Browning, Zaven Collins, and Ojulari, if they're all here next year, should be backups in a rotation. And I think your 2 edge rushers that are going to start for you in September are not on the team yet. That's my opinion. Now, who knows if they stick to that? Ossenfort, as we know, Bo, as the offseason progresses, tends to talk himself into people that are already in the building. Hello, Colt McCoy 2 years ago.
Yeah. We're going to do, I think, tomorrow some unfortunate truths that we might have to face going into free agency in this offseason and how Monti approaches filling what we view as holes, how he might really approach them. So we'll have that conversation, but not until tomorrow's PHNX Cardinals. Tanya Sparks, 99-cent super sticker, and then follows up $4.99. Tanya Sparks, Johnny V with glasses. Looks like Nico Hulkenberg from F1 with glasses on. If you didn't know, please look it up. First super chat. Love the pod. Thank you, Tanya. Really appreciate that.
I'm going to assume that Nico is incredibly good looking, incredibly successful, and it's just the tier 1 of F1 drivers. So,
Nico Hulkenberg, is that right?
Incredible Hulkenberg. Is that his nickname?
Same hair. I think Johnny showed the hair as reference.
Thank you, Tanya. We appreciate
great clips today.
Yeah, to GC, to the GC.
That guy better not look like the Grinch. Reezy, baby, $2. Can Jaden Davis play safety if we move on from Jalen Thompson? I think that if they move on from Jalen Thompson, Reezy, baby, Jaden Davis is a late round pick. He's got an uphill battle, and I love him. We interviewed him last year in studio, but there are too many good corners on this team. Elijah Jones is going to get every opportunity, and they got all these guys, Keitrell Clark, Starling Thomas. What do you do with them? Yeah. The 3rd safety, if they move on from JT, Taylor Demerson's going to start, and I think they draft another safety. They're so good at identifying DBs that fit this defense. They'll just keep adding them. So I don't. They
added Jamie Robinson too out of Florida State from last year's draft, and he was on the active roster ahead of a guy like Jaden Davis. Davis would have to make an immense jump in the offseason OTAs and stuff to even have a chance, I think. But it's a good question, and I think there's some good safeties, as Johnny mentioned, in this draft. So I don't think that it's like a realistic option. I think it's a break glass in case of emergency option. Andrew jumping in, $9.99. London fan listening in live. Loved all the content this year, guys. The content is my friend on the tube ride every morning. Hoping for Colts in Munich so we can link up. In the meantime, Captain Jack.
Andrew, my guy.
Listening to the tube on the tube. How about that?
I would love to come to London and just screw around, run around, have a great time, get all the culture in. Andrew, I've heard through some sources, this is in all seriousness, that I would say the Munich trip, I would say there's a better than 50-50 chance the Cardinals play the Colts in Germany we have a really good feeling, Bo, that they're going to get an international game. And we have a really good feeling it's going to be against an AFC team. And we already know the Colts are going. So whether it's that game or another game overseas, let's hook up, my guy. Thank you for all the support, especially to be the podcast of your morning commute. That we do not take that lightly. We appreciate you.
Very grateful for that. If we go to Germany, you can link up with your doppelganger, Nicholas Hulkenberg. He's from Germany.
He'll have us over. He'll have us over. Alberto E999. Looking forward to off-season content with you guys. JV, nice haircut. Thank you, Alberto. Looking like Brad Pitt in the movie Fury. I know who that is. And I will take that compliment. Thank you so much, Alberto. What are some of the comps that I typically get when we do our show that people say I look like? It's usually like
the Grinch babies.
Yeah, or like a junior high kid. I like little insight.
The Grinch baby.
Does Bo get that reference from PHNX Backstage?
Jim Carrey version of the Grinch? That thing is so scary.
We go to the combine in the Super Bowl every year, and I typically like to wear like semi-dress clothes, and everybody always blows me grief for it. They're like, Johnny, why are you all dressed up? It's so when we go and we run and we try to get people of note and we try to get celebs and athletes on our show, people don't think I'm just some little kid trying to get an autograph. Trying to keep it together. So it's for the betterment of the show. So if I look put together, it's for a reason. Now, I'm not a little ventriloquist dummy. Come on now.
Oh, man. Get back to your tank, guy. Brad Pitt and Fury. That's a movie I got to revisit. Is it? I watched it in theaters. I remember it being quite good.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. Underrated, I'd say.
Yeah. Kyler Plummer jumping in $2. Chat's asking for just the tip T-shirts next year.
Those will actually sell negative. If we're actually going to owe you money,
we're going to be asking for Superchats to pick up the tab on that, because you and I, the company would probably try to fire us first, and then they would make us pay back every dime.
Listen, if we haven't gotten a Trey McBride shirt yet, a Tip Ryman shirt is never a priority, respectfully to Tip. But that's going to be the pick, man, where it's like, how does, real quick, as we over time here, how does Tip Ryman make that pick worth it to you? Is that even possible?
82nd overall, third round pick.
Yeah.
It just has to become kind of a cult sensation in the NFL, where he's just blasting guys in the C gap.
Oh, is that all? Is that all?
Well, no, I mean, he just becomes a bulldozer. Just people outside of Arizona know who Tip Ryman is, because right now they don't.
They won't.
Kyle Brandt has to pick him up on Good Morning Football, and he just has to.
But we're not even talking about football, though. I mean, I think it's his metrics have to be so stark when he's on the field, and a positive player, their run stats, their receiving stats, all have to be better with him on the field than off the field.
Yeah.
I've comped can he just turn into Kyle Juszczyk? But I don't know how he looks with the football in his hands. I don't think it's what you want. $4.99. Who we got here? Protozone. What's with Johnny Kingsbury? Oh man, the comps keep coming. I don't hang any of these. My fresh brother looks primed for a second half of a season collapse. Absolutely. Thoughts on Dale Walker? I want a big nose tackle. I actually went over to Kliff's house and took a picture in front of it, a selfie, and just said, it's good to be back. It's good to be home. People thought I was him.
You are looking a little Cliffy today.
I've made my...
You got the coaching jacket on and everything.
Here's what I like about Dale Walker. He's 20 years old, and while he's got some Tavondre Sweat to his game, he's a little sloppy in the midsection.
No, he's not. He's a freak. He's 6'6". He's 350. I know he's that big, but he's not floppy. He's an athlete.
Yeah, he's a really good prospect.
I love Deion Walker. I don't know. I mean, I think he was a victim of Kentucky being bad at football.
That's 100%. You're right. You're 100% right about that.
I love him. If he's there in the second round and you got the edge figured out in the first round, why not just beef it up a little bit more with the defensive line?
Beef me, baby. Like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports. What a day we've had today. Big thanks to our guy, Fran.
right, which one's Johnny and which one's Grinch baby?
I took a screenshot at a random time, and they're somehow making the same face.
They really are. That's why I can't tell the difference.
Yep.
What was the best comp you got today with your new haircut?
Definitely Kliff or Brad Pitt at the end of the day. But that Grinch, let's see Grinch baby one more time. We used to do a show called PHNX Bets every day. Shane and I did.
It was canceled.
It was canceled abruptly, but Shane wouldn't produce it. We'd have somebody else produce it, and then we'd sneak in the Grinch baby. And I always tried to buy some off of Amazon, but then the reviews said it never looked like the actual pictures. So.
Yeah. Well, I overheard just some higher ups talking in the office said we either cancel this show of Shane and Johnny, or we're going to be canceled as a company because of the things they're saying on this 15-minute podcast.
It was always like a half an hour. We weren't supposed to use profanity. Every other word was the F word. I mean, it was one of the worst shows. It was the greatest.
It was one of the best shows, and you can still find all of the episodes on our YouTube channel.
No, those have been scrubbed.
They have not. There's probably 700 of them.
If you wanted to know where a lot of my takes like organically grew from, it was from that time. We did a whole show on Urban Meyer kind of grinding up against those co-eds.
Oh my God.
During his time with Jacksonville. It's where the term jagging off was coined. So much good stuff blossomed from that. What you're seeing now, like the PHNX Cardinals now is kind of an evolution of PHNX Bets in the best possible way.
In the best possible way, because of every single one of you who's tuned in today, make sure you drop a like. Johnny Grinch baby Venerable from our guy Hunter Zona. Love it. Keep them coming. Keep them coming on social media as well, at PHNX_Cardinals, at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brock, at Shane Deef. It's been a banner show. It was great to get to know our guy, our new friend, Fran Duffy, breaking down all the prospects.
Duff man.
That's right. Look for that interview come tomorrow, of course, here on the YouTube streets. Make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. Don't you dare put those sunglasses on, cool guy Johnny, and Grinch baby Johnny. We will talk to you on Friday. Bring home the week that was a brand new edition of PHNX Cardinals at 4:30.
We all silly like the mayor.